A very good evening and welcome to Eswatini TV's 8 p.m. news broadcast. My name is Nondobego Nzapkelago. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines. The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority has launched the first ever Eswatini Virtual Trade Fair. Government has finally gazetted the Fire, Rescue and Emergency Service Bill of 2020. Ngonjwa Chiefdom under the Stobeleni constituency has launched its development plan for the year 2020 to 2028. And now for the news in detail. The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority has launched the first ever Eswatini Virtual Trade Fair, whereby different businesses in the country will be able to sell their products using electronics by accessing the new buyeswatini.com website. This is said by the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority Head of Trade, Bongani Njangase.
The outbreak of the COVID-19 disease in the country has interrupted the annual Eswatini International Trade Fair. In supporting businesses in the country, the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority has launched the Eswatini Virtual Trade Fair, which will be hosted in the new Buy Eswatini website created by the authority, where businesses will be able to market and sell their products to those who would be interested to buy the products. The head of trade, Bongani Njangase, says the website is already available for people to use and urged Eswatini to be part of this initiative and support the business community.
There is always a need and a demand for marketing. As a business, you cannot afford not to market yourself. So that's why we decided to avail this platform, which is the Eswatini Virtual Trade Fair, which is the same exhibition, but online on a virtual platform. So companies are invited to come and register, but the format will be slightly different in the sense that we are now doing a sector-based exhibition. So the first exhibition will be focusing on the ICT, technology and energy sector. That website is meant for every business in all sectors or in all spheres that is operating within Eswatini to register and exhibit their products. So you register on that website, buyeswatini.com, and you indicate what you're selling, the pricing, and where you're located, your contact details, and that registration is for free.
The authority says this new way of doing business virtually will play a huge role in improving the country's economy, as business people in the country will also be able to sell their products to people in other countries. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Temalang Dlamini with Gianni Msibi and Babane.
Government has finally gazetted the Fire, Rescue and Emergency Service Bill of 2020. The bill will repeal the National Fire and Emergency Service Order of 1975. It will further provide for the discipline of fire officers.
The operations of the firefighters were at some point deliberated in Parliament, where legislators voiced out their concerns about the law governing the National Fire and Emergency Services Department. This is a department under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, whose minister is Prince Melane, who promised that a bill to address their concerns would be drafted. The bill has now been gazetted, and among other things, it will establish the Eswatini Fire, Rescue and Emergency Service, repeal the National Fire and Emergency Service Order of 1975, and also provide for discipline of fire officers. The objective of the service, according to the bill, is to prevent the spread of and control undesired fire. Special powers given to the service by the bill include breaking and entering into premises with or without the owner's consent or that of the occupier of the premise. The service will also have powers to do anything reasonably necessary to any premises or property to perform its functions and duties. The bill, once passed, will give fire officers the power to investigate fires, but those investigations should not interfere with those of police officers. Regarding the position of Chief Fire Officer, the bill states that this shall be a senior officer of not less than 10 years of continuous employment in the service. The bill also states that all persons who were employed immediately before the commencement of this act continue to be employed by the service on the same terms and conditions. A person who intentionally obstructs, hinders, or interferes with an officer or a police officer who is performing duties under the Act will be liable to a fine of 7,000 emalangeni or 5 years imprisonment. Intentionally informing or causing another person to inform the service or an officer about the existence of a fire or calamity event which that person knows to be non-existent is liable on conviction to a fine of 2,000 emalangeni or 2 years imprisonment. In addition, the bill criminalizes wearing the uniform or anything forming part of the uniform of the service and attaches a fine of 1,000 emalangeni or 6 months imprisonment to that offense. For Eswatini TV News, Temgos Mavimbela, Mbabane.
We will now take a look at the status of COVID-19 in the country. The Ministry of Health would like to inform the public of the status of COVID-19 in Eswatini. In a statement issued by the Minister for Health, Ngosi, a total of 110 results were received today, out of which 25 tested positive for coronavirus. The total number of COVID-19 confirmed cases to date is 5,307. 2 more deaths have been reported, bringing the total number of COVID-19 related deaths to 106. The reported deaths are a 51-year-old man from the Eswatini region and a 48-year-old man from Manzini. The statement shows that there are 504 active cases, 4,672 have recovered, 106 have died, and 25 have been registered for care. Looking at the cumulative confirmed COVID cases by region, Manzini region has 2,404 cases, Hoho region has 2,009 cases, Eswatini region has 458 cases, and the Lubombo region has 436 cases of the coronavirus. Let's continue with the news. Agricultural home economists have encouraged farmers and people in the country to avoid throwing away surplus harvests such as crops, fruits, and vegetables. Agricultural economist in the Ministry of Agriculture, Nigiwe Dlamini, advises that value addition techniques such as drying can help increase the shelf life for surplus fresh harvest to make soups, spices, and other foods.
Agricultural economists are happy that the Maswati have ventured into farming during lockdown. They now challenge them to make use of whatever they have harvested instead of throwing it away after harvest, when they can make good use of things like value addition and improve food security. Nigewe Dlamini, an agricultural economist, emphasizes that they can try these foods and make soup and make nutritious foods and other things.
The market is flooded with cabbages and spinach. And some farmers, they really don't know what to do with this. And what we can say, we are there as home economists to assist people to add value to their vegetables. I can make an example of the cabbage. There is a lot that you can do using the cabbage. For example, drying the cabbage and converting everything into soup. And then that soup can be used for adding value in your business compared to selling the cabbage at its raw state. And also what I can say is that it is important that we start cottage industries. We start small, doing the cottage industries in value addition, and gradually we are going to graduate into bigger industry. But what I can emphasize is that everyone should have something to do at home in terms of value addition to vegetables that are rotting out there.
She says agricultural economists are available to assist in RTAs throughout the country. The Ministry of Agriculture has now and again encouraged the Maswati to be more active on commercial farming, whereas the agricultural economists also encourage the Maswati to be more active on subsistence farming and produce our own spices, as opposed to buying those spices in different supermarkets, when we can produce our own spices and also add value to our foods at home. For Eswatini TV News, I am Kian Msibi, Mbabane.
Ngonjwa Chiefdom under Tobelweni constituency has launched its development plan for the year 2020 to 2028. The launch of the development plan was attended by various stakeholders and community members who were capacitated on what needs to be done for the plan to succeed.
Ngonjwa Chiefdom has launched its development plan for the year 2020-2028. The plan was officially presented in a meeting held on Tuesday, which was also attended by representatives of different companies who advised the community on what needs to be done for the newly launched Chiefdom development plan to be a success. Company representatives also pledged their support to the Chiefdom as it rolls out this plan.
lethu akuhlanyeli thina kepha kuhlanyela lesivu ngoma leti hlahla sifuna ukuthi tibe deni tiphinde futhi tikhona kusitande abantu babene ngitlo stand sila donors sihlanyele leti nzawo etivalekile nalapho khona kunemadonga khona ngiyathanda ukuthi sisebenzisane kumbe labo beqopho.
Ngonjwa Development Committee chairperson says this meeting helped the community to know the processes that they must undergo to reach the development goals outlined in the plan.
Ngikhanza ukuthi singasitakala kakhulu ngoba kukhona nalokuqhumana ukuthi kufanele sithinzane nabo kuze sikhone kubheka indlela yinye kuze kukhone kushintsha ngaleyo ndlela lesibuke ngayo emaphupho emphakathi waNgonjwa.
The area's Member of Parliament, Begiche Dlamini, says it is comforting to see the chiefdom launch the development plan. He says this plan does not only address short-term development targets, as some of the development goals it's set to achieve will be of great benefit even to future generations.
Sithi asilekelele kunalo lushaba lesinalo lasithobelweni ekakhulu lokuba semuva ngentuthuko njengoba sitobusisa lelibhuku lentuthuko sitawukhona ukuthi singumphakathi waNgonjwa sithuthuke kahle sephambili sihambisana kanye nawo lama stakeholders.
The Member of Parliament was optimistic that the community would achieve its development targets. He advised that this will only be possible if people apply themselves to the advice given on how to develop themselves and the community. Reporting for Eswatini TV News is Tembelihle Magoja with Temba Shabangu at Tobelweni.
The Malkans Research Station Soil Testing Unit under the Ministry of Agriculture urges all farmers in the country to bring a sample of their farm soil at all times after harvesting for testing at their facilities, as this will assist them in knowing their farm soil's current condition and how to improve it for an increased yield.
The Malkans Research Station Soil Testing Unit under the Ministry of Agriculture says it is important for farmers in the country to take their farm soil for testing to have enough knowledge on whether the soil they use is good enough for farming or not. The Soil Testing Unit expert Bongani Bata says testing farm soil plays a huge role in creating benefit to farmers as it increases yields, improves quality of crops, and also helps farmers in choosing the right materials to use for their crops.
It is important that farmers should test their soil so that they could know the status of the soil in terms of pH or soil acidity. And they should also know, they will be able to know the status of the soil in terms of nutrients availability. Everything starts from the soil. At times you find that a farmer will just grow crops without testing his or her soil. So yet the soil is acidic. When the soil is acidic, it is so difficult for the plant roots to absorb those nutrients from the soil.
The Soil Testing Center says the best time for farmers to bring soil for testing is the winter season, as this will give them enough time to plow and be able to continue without facing any challenges. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Temalangen Dlamini with Muzim Konda, Malkans.
The director of the National Emergency Response Council on HIV and AIDS, Khanya Mabuza, says teenage pregnancy contributes towards issues of new HIV infections. The director of NECHA says this is due to the lack of financial support from their partners. He was speaking in Babane during an interview where he was explaining research conducted by the organization in collaboration with the World Bank.
The rise in cases of teenage pregnancy in the country has been a cause for concern for a number of sectors such as the Ministry of Education and the National Emergency Response Council on HIV and AIDS, NECHA. Khanya Mabuza, the director for NECHA, explains findings on research on teenage pregnancy in relations to HIV.
We have a child that has been in school. By so many reasons, that young kid has dropped out of school. You may find that the first pregnancy, she is not positive. And then the second pregnancy or the second sexual encounter, she may pick the HIV. So we really encourage and applaud the ministry to ensure that we are just not leaving out the young girl just because she is pregnant. So the young girl is now re-engaged. She is back in school. And one is very careful that the young girl will be well accepted in that environment. So we really appreciate that. And then from the HIV angle, we believe that it will help us to reduce many infections, particularly to girls who have fallen pregnant, because they will be able now to be re-engaged and to be educated about the issues on HIV prevention.
The Kingdom of Eswatini has made great strides towards eliminating HIV. This is evident as 95% of Emaswati are aware of their HIV status. 95% of those who know their status are on treatment, and 95% of those who are on treatment, the virus has been suppressed. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni in Babane.
A witness in a murder trial has told the court that her lover and the father of her child did not see eye to eye because of her, and this led to the former's death. The witness said this when giving her evidence in chief in a case where her baby's father is accused of the murder of her lover near Spofaneni.
In the matter in which the witness, Thembisile Bulunga, was testifying in, the accused is Sibusiso Shabangu, who fathers Thembisile's baby and is accused of the murder of Mandisa Nkambule, who was a lover to the witness. Another witness was a police pathologist who worked on the case in 2016. He told the court that Nkambule's corpse had 7 wounds, the fatal one being one through the ribs and into the lungs. He submitted that after the wounds were inflicted, Nkambule could have had a few seconds to minutes to leave as he lost a lot of blood. He also submitted that the wounds were penetrating and consistent with stab wounds. In her evidence in chief, Thembisile told the court that she separated with the accused after he failed to support their then 1-month-old child. A day before the murder, Shabangu slept over at Thembisile's parental home at Bulunga area and left in the morning after an argument, but they did not engage sexually, submitted the witness. Thembisile narrated to the court that Nkambule visited her later that day. She also narrated that she left Nkambule at the gate while she attended to her baby who needed breastfeeding. The witness told the court that Shabangu returned to her home drunk, left the house and later came back furious. Thembisile went on to tell the court that the accused said he had been told about her affairs with other men. Thembisile narrated to the court how the accused held the 3-month-old baby and banged it against the wall while insulting her. Thembisile also narrated to the court that Shabangu pulled out a gun and threatened to shoot her right next to where he had murdered Nkambule. She further narrated that as they walked out of the house, her sister raised an alarm, and that was when Shabangu fled. Shabangu's lawyer, Siyabonga Zwane, put it to Thembisile that she was the cause of the dispute between the 2 men, to which the witness responded to the affirmative. She stated, though, that she had long separated with the accused person. Shabangu pleaded not guilty to the charge of murder. The evidence given by all witnesses in the matter will be tested in court. At the time of compiling this report, the matter had been adjourned. Representing the Crown is Lomkhosi Dlamini, and the matter is before Judge Qinsile Mabuza. For Eswatini TV News, Temgos Mavimbela, High Court.
University and college students in the country have expressed their appreciation on the reduction of data costs and the introduction of educational packages by the country's mobile phone service providers. They say this move will enable them to do their assignments and easily have access to the internet, which was previously expensive.
The government of Eswatini has pleaded with communication companies to assist government in communication costs for Emaswati, especially students, to easily access the internet. Many students, especially classes which haven't been recalled to class yet, are learning using other methods like home learning and WhatsApp. Some companies like MTN Eswatini have already cut down internet costs, and Eswatini Mobile introduced educational data packages. The Eswatini Principals Association President Welcome Mhlanga says this is a good and wise move. They appreciate it because it will boost students academically.
We appreciate that because it is making the work of teachers and students very easy. We'll be able to engage in what is called the blended learning. Will be able to give students work to do at home, and they also send it back to us. Even before we go to class, we have engaged with the students while they are away at home.
University students who were interviewed say it has been costly to use the internet for the longest time, but they thank government for making them a priority that they can now be able to do homeworks and group work.
Siyakhona download like my projects is download number from server esikoleni sizokhona kusebenza nje ubeka dura la madatha ukhanza ukuthi noma uwathenga le bonus yokuqala ebusuku ngabo 11 so shiyekile nase eclassini kanzi kuyafundwa na online
sesiyakhona ku research information ibe iningi kanti before besingayisikhanze ukuthi sinenseyaye ukuthi sikhona ukuthenga amadatha lamancane ngenxa yetimali ukuthi asikhoni ku
90% of us, we are able to afford data so that sitokona communicate.
They say they can now easily communicate with one another and even freely use social media, which they use it for communication amongst themselves. This has been done to make easy access for Emaswati to use the internet and make phone calls. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi in Mbabane.
The Kingdom of Eswatini records over 800 cases of cancer annually. According to the Cancer Registry Data Manager Nomalanga Hlope, the cancer of the cervix, which affects women, is leading among these cases. Hlope was speaking in Mbabane during an interview with Eswatini TV News.
The government of Eswatini in 2016 established the Cancer Registry where all cancer cases are recorded. A report from the National Cancer Registry System from 2016 to 2017 shows that 2,077 cases were recorded. Nomalanga Hlope, the Cancer Registry Data Manager, explains the top 5 cancers which are more prevalent in Eswatini.
The second cancer that I can highlight is cancer of Kaposis. It's a Kaposis sarcoma. It's called Kaposis sarcoma. It usually affects people that are HIV positive, more especially those that the CD4 doesn't want to reduce, or the viral load is still too high. They progress to Kaposis sarcoma, or due to other reasons. I can't just label that out only. Due to other reasons, they progress to Kaposis sarcoma. It's a cancer that we thought with the treatment of HIV that it would go down, but we're still seeing numbers. And I think holding hands with the public and with our patients in the HIV program, we'll be able to reduce Kaposis sarcoma. Males, or the number 1 in males diagnosed is prostate cancer. Luckily, we are doing this interview while we are in a campaign to provide awareness in the country. We go through all the regions talking of prostate cancer and why men should go for screening for prostate cancer. It's not that we want to get the prostate cancer, but we are looking also at risk factors which might cause prostate cancer.
Hlophe stated that healthy lifestyle can minimize chances of being diagnosed with cancer. The cancer cases recorded in the country, 52% were recorded in Babane Government Hospital. For Eswatini TV News, Sondo Mlangeni in Babane.
And in today's sports news, Eswatini Football Association Communications and Marketing Officer Muzi Hadebe says the ongoing FIFA Online Referees course will play a major role in assisting local referees in getting equipped and also be able to represent the country well when called up to officiate in different international competitions. Hadebe highlighted that the 3-day online course continued with 48 local referees.
48 local referees are taking part of a FIFA referee course through online. The course that is divided in 2 groups see 30 referees who are involved in a senior course of MA referees course, while other 18 are involved in a course of youth referees course. According to the Communications and Marketing Officer of the Eswatini Football Association, Muzi Hadebe, the course will play a major role in assisting local referees to be well equipped and get recognition from FIFA and represent the country when called to officiate FIFA games.
So we're looking forward, Fabrice, to seeing our referees to be well equipped when football return in the country. It provides or it gives another platform for Eswatini Football Association to recommend referees who can be part of the FIFA panel for the upcoming football season.
The course is expected to also highlight new rules that are being implemented by FIFA. Having started on Monday this week, it is expected to end on Wednesday, the 23rd of September this year. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Musonera, Babane.
We've come to the end of our news bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's take a quick recap of the headlines. The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority has launched the first ever Eswatini Virtual Trade Fair. Government has finally gazetted the Fire, Rescue and Emergency Service Bill of 2020. Ngonjwa Chiefdom under the Stobeleni constituency has launched its development plan for the year 2020 to 2028. Eswatini, that is all the news we had for you tonight. Up next is the weather forecast. Good night and God bless.